Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into investigative journalist David K. Johnston's take on the Epstein files. We're going to break down his analysis of what they could, or maybe more importantly, couldn't mean for Donald Trump. All right, let's get into it.
So with all the headlines flying around and all the speculation, you have to wonder, what's the real impact here? What can these documents actually do to a president? Is it a political bombshell or something else?
You know, Johnston's take is pretty stark. He basically says the documents themselves are mostly smoke. Billows of it for sure, but not the fire. He just doesn't think there's enough in the text of these files to actually force a president out of office. But he points to a completely different threat, something far more powerful.
So let's just cut right to the chase. What is it? Johnston zooms in on one single piece of evidence that he believes is the only thing that could realistically end a presidency over this.
And there it is. That's the core of his whole argument. It's not about allegations in a document. It's not about testimony. It's about definitive, visual proof that you just can't argue with. He thinks that's the only thing that could be a true game changer, the kind of thing that cuts through all the political noise.
Okay, so you might be asking, why that specific kind of evidence? Why video or a photo? Well, to understand why that's so critical, we really have to look at the legal reality of the situation, just as Johnston lays it out.
The source draws a really sharp line in the sand here. When it comes to criminal prosecution, he says the chances are zero. That door is completely closed. But the path for civil litigation, we're talking lawsuits from victims looking for damages, that is wide open, and it's happening right now.
So the bottom line is, you've got this perfect storm of reasons why criminal charges are off the table. Epstein himself is gone, the legal clock, the statute of limitations has run out for most of these crimes, and according to Johnston, the political will just isn't there. That leaves civil court as pretty much the only legal battleground left.
This brings us right back to that idea of irrefutable evidence. If that's the only thing that can really change the game, is there any reason to believe something like that actually exists?
Now this is where it gets really serious. Johnston stresses that this isn't some rumor from the dark corners of the internet. This is an allegation that was made under oath in court. Testimony from a victim reportedly claimed that films were made of prominent men, and Trump's name was mentioned.
And that, right there, is the million-dollar question. If sworn testimony claims this kind of bombshell evidence is out there, where is it? Why hasn't it surfaced? Well, the answer, according to the source, is a mind-bending legal paradox.
Johnston calls this whole situation a legal catch-22, and honestly, that's the perfect term for it. It's this frustrating, impossible situation that seems to have this alleged evidence completely locked away, not just from the public, but maybe even from Congress.
So how does this old idea of a catch-22 apply here? Well, it creates this perfect storm where the rules contradict each other, creating an inescapable trap for the evidence.
Okay, let's walk through how this roadblock works. First, you have testimony claiming these illicit photos and videos exist. Second, any official who gets their hands on it would have to classify it as what it is, illegal child pornography. And third, possessing or distributing that material is itself a very serious crime. And there's your trap. The very evidence that could prove a horrific crime is illegal to share.
So beyond this crazy legal paradox, Johnston also talks about the very real fallout of all this, the human cost and the political consequences, especially for the survivors.
Yeah, this is a really key point. Survivors groups have spoken out, saying that releasing these documents bit by bit is a betrayal. They feel like it just re-traumatizes them, putting them back in the spotlight, while the powerful men who hurt them get to stay hidden behind blacked-out names.
And Johnston argues that while, of course, survivors' names should be protected, the law is being twisted here to protect the reputations of political allies. And the law is actually very specific. You're not supposed to redact information just to save someone from embarrassment.
This just really fuels a deep mistrust in the whole process. Johnston suggests that when the government released the name of Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, a release that showed no wrongdoing at all, it might have been a calculated move to look nonpartisan, all while keeping other, potentially more explosive names under wraps.
So after you break it all down, the legal theory, the alleged smoking gun, that impossible catch-22, and all the political fallout, Johnston's entire analysis really comes down to one final nagging question.
And that's the question he leaves us with, aimed directly at the administration. The logic is pretty simple, right? If the accusations are bogus and you have nothing to hide, the easiest way to prove it is to release everything, full transparency. He suggests that the refusal to do that implies that there is in fact something damaging still hidden away.